welcome to the Booksplosion, the Rumor Game live show. This month we are sponsored by Disney Books. Thank you, Disney Books. And of course, we read The Rumor Game by DHONIELLE Clayton Sona Charaipotra. Bellamy, please stop that. Thank you. Tell me.
Bellamy wanted to say hi too. He's a part of Booksplosion.
You're ignoring me. So we read The Rumor Game. Let's start with a brief synopsis about The Rumor Game. And I'm going to mute myself for a second until I get to...
Okay, so The Rumor Game follows three girls who are on three different journeys. We've got, oh my gosh, their name's Bryn, who is the girl that at once had it all, but after a big accident, she doesn't have it all anymore, essentially. Then we've got Cora, who is the cheer captain. She's kind of the it girl, I would say. And then we've got Georgie, who had a transformation over the summer. She used to be kind of like a nerdy girl, but now she's like becoming the it girl. She's on the rise. And they are swarmed with rumors, constant rumors. And we follow them as the rumor game unfolds.
Yes. It's like a deep dive into the web of high school rumors and how they spiral out of control and how it affects everyone's mental health when you perpetuate those rumors. And it's really hard to escape it once it starts avalanching into the mob. That didn't make...
It's a really interesting thing because I feel like when we were in high school, for the most part, social media wasn't a thing. It was like just beginning to be a thing.
Yeah.
So like even though when we were in high school there was like gossip and rumors and stuff like that, it felt so much less prevalent in our lives because like it couldn't follow you home as much. Like someone called you on the landline.
Well, no, but people had cell phones, and it was starting like people would send a picture around through text message. That was the way we spread.
I didn't even have that. Like
you're a little older. You were on the verge.
Like when I started high school, no one had a cell phone, and when I graduated high school, probably about half of the class had a cell phone at that point.
See, by the time I started, everyone had a cell phone. It was in 7th grade when people were just getting them.
It's so interesting now because now kids in middle school have cell phones.
Oh yeah. Every year was so different for us because you're just 2 years ahead of me, but it was different because we were things are rolling fast.
We were right at that big technology boom where
But people would also talk through IM. Everyone would IM after school and kind of gossip through there and stuff. I remember being at my computer and not wanting my parents to look over my shoulder. Not that we were gossiping about anything important.
Right.
But it was this person likes this person.
But it's still different talking to people one-on-one.
It's still social,
than the public forum of comments kind of situation.
But I do remember people would send it to their whole address book. Do you remember doing texts to your whole address book? People would do
Not really.
People would do that.
Well, wait, what would they send?
Send out a picture or something that was embarrassing. I never got it because I was never in anyone's address book. But I remember people would send a picture of their whole address book to send out information that they wanted everyone to know.
All I remember is chain letters where it's forward.
Forward this or a ghost will come in the night and kill you.
That was elementary school. Okay, so let's do our overall thoughts here.
A spoiler-free section.
What do you say?
Should we announce our next month?
Oh yeah, before we do we'll do next month's book of the month is
Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I am so excited to read this. It is the first in a series. I don't know if it's a duology or a trilogy, but the next book is coming out later this year. This book, I'm sure many people have heard of it because it went super viral on TikTok. It was originally self-published, but then it went viral on TikTok. And Olivia Blake ended up getting this deal with Tor, and there's a show in the works now, and it's just like,
wow, that's so cool.
It is a dark academia about these 6 magicians who are trying to enter like the secret society in the Library of Alexandria, but only 5 will make it. So we have like an ensemble cast, dark academia, magic, and I for one am super excited because Olivia Blake is like one of my favorite fanfic authors, so I'm like already super invested in this book. But yeah, this is what we're reading in April. We'll announce the live show and all the details and stuff soon. Yeah, follow our Booksplosion social medias for all of that info.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm excited. I don't have the book yet, though. I've got to order it.
I don't either.
Okay, so back to the rumor game. Jesse, you want to kick us off with your thoughts?
Sure, I will kick us off.
Okay.
Wait, what?
You sounded so hesitant.
I don't know why this part always makes me nervous in our live shows.
Okay. Kat, you want to go first?
No, I can start. It's fine. Now I'm embarrassed.
Kat, you want to go first?
Okay, I really enjoyed this book a lot. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I almost thought, like, I don't know, I guess going into it, I was like, oh no, this might be like one of those books that's like way too dramatic. But like, I really liked it. I really liked kind of the progression of the plot. I liked a lot of the topics that were brought up over time. Like, I especially loved like Georgie's journey, even though I feel like
she's the
she's the one that went through it the most in this book, and it was like frustrating at times. But like, I also just really liked all the things that were kind of addressed with her character, and I kind of liked. There's kind of a mystery element to it in some cases, kind of where you're like trying to figure out like who's behind like a certain username and stuff like that. And I liked that element. And yeah, overall, I just like really liked it and enjoyed my time reading it. So who's next?
Yeah. I really liked it as well. There are specifically like a couple elements of the storytelling involving like the mystery and like what the reader knows and what the characters know and stuff like that I'll talk more about when we get into the spoilery section because I don't want to give too much away. But there's a couple like storytelling elements that I thought were just so smart and clever. I feel like the book was really well done. Like Jesse said, it wasn't like overly dramatic. Like there's lots of dramatic things happening, but it still felt very grounded in reality, which I really enjoyed that aspect. I mean, saying that I enjoyed this book feels weird because like this book stressed me. Like, it was a great book, but it stressed me out, and like it wasn't like super happy for the most part because like all the characters are like really going through a tough time and like struggling with various things. And this book touches on a lot of serious topics. And so like it definitely wasn't a fluffy read. But it also wasn't like super angsty. It was a good balance of like balancing the seriousness, but not, and being like really entertaining and gripping and well written, but not being like too over dramatic. But yeah, I thought it was a great read, and I am excited to talk more when we get to the spoilery section because I have lots more to say.
Yeah, so I agree with what both of you are saying. It's definitely like not a book that I would pick up to read because it's so heavy. So a lot of it would like trigger different things from high school that like I remember, and like I just feel like so down on it because high school is such a cruel place with so much pressure to be in so many different ways. And I really felt for Georgie in so many different circumstances. And it's just like so frustrating because, you know, it's so real, like the way that all these people are interacting and like grabbing onto the rumors and like clinging to it because they just want the drama, and it's so sad. But yeah, it was really well written. I really liked how on the audiobook they did like the posts and stuff. Like they had like all different sound effects, and like you could just imagine the bubbles popping up as you listen to it. It was really well done.
I was wondering about that because like there's a lot of like text messages and like comments on pages and stuff. So yeah, so the audiobook did a good job of like.
They did, yeah. They have like different sound effects, so you know when it's like a post and when it's like a message and when it's a comment. Yeah, it was good.
Did it have multiple voices?
It did. Everyone had their own actress, so that was really nice. So from chapter to chapter, like you always knew who was talking, and it was well, you could tell from the writing, but like it was even easier because everyone had a very different voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should we read the content warnings just in case for like?
Yeah. Do you have it open?
Yeah, I have it open just in case. Like if you haven't read this book and you're wanting to read it, be aware of these. Content warnings. This book explores issues of bullying and cyberbullying, sexual abuse, assault, weight loss, self-harm, body image, and fat phobia and racism. So just be aware of that before picking up this book.
Yeah, and it tackles a lot of heavy topics. It does it really well, but they are definitely topics that could trigger different things in a lot of different people.
Yeah.
All right. Should we jump into spoilers?
Let's do it.
Okay, spoilers. Everyone who hasn't read it and doesn't want to be spoiled, leave now. Okay. So, do you have spoiler thoughts you want to jump into before we do any prompts here?
I'll start with one of the like storytelling elements that I thought was really interesting. I talked a little bit about this in my reading vlog, but before going into this, I thought there was going to be a mystery surrounding like what really happened to start the rumors. Like I didn't know that we were going to see it in chapter 2 of like the interaction between Georgie and Baze that like started everything. And at first I was like, well, if we don't have this mystery element, then like what's the point? Like why do we get to see this so early and to not be like questioning like what really happened? But my opinion on that really changed when it puts the reader in such a position where, since we know the truth, we end up like going on the journey with the characters of feeling like frustrated and helpless and like the injustice of it, because like we know that like nothing actually happened, but we're powerless to stop these rumors.
Right.
So like it put us in a really interesting perspective there. And also, because we see how this like non-event got blown up into something crazy that's like ruining these characters' lives, I feel like it also is supposed to make you question like what happened with Bryn. So like maybe you start thinking like, oh well, like Bryn's reputation was also ruined, but like maybe she didn't do anything that bad. Like it's all blown out of proportion. And like even Bryn is downplaying it. She's like, yeah, like I was stalking them and like I was gonna like slash his tires and like whatever. Like it's not a big deal. Like I wasn't trying to kill them. And like we kind of, since we're in her head, we're kind of like we buy into her like downplaying it. Like the rumors just got out of control. Like Bryn's not really that bad. Like some of the things she says, it's like that's like almost unhinged.
Well, on the beginning though, like I feel like you feel a little more of this like mean streak in her in the way that she's talking about things, and then as we get further along, we start to try to like buy into what she's saying because you want to like have empathy for her. But
it's also she's a politician. She's so good at manipulating. And another thing that I really liked about that element of her character, and I thought made her more like interesting and compelling, is that she's not doing it to be mean. You know, she's not just like a cruel trash person, not like Jace, who's like just awful all around and just like terrible. Like she's doing it as in a selfish way, but like she's not trying to like hurt Georgie and Cora. She's just trying to like manipulate the situation to
her benefit.
Definitely.
So it like makes her so much more interesting in that way, because like she's not trying to be a villain, and like she
that's the best villains.
And like she doesn't even understand that like what she's doing is that bad until closer to the end, when she starts seeing like how out of control it's gotten, and like as Psych Ward, she's like trying to like rein it back and being like nothing happened. It's like, girl, you're too late. Like
making her own comments, which is like ridiculous. But you do sense like there's like halfway through the book, I think Cora's talking about like what a good friend Bryn was, and that also makes you want to like believe in her. There's a lot of like good like little breadcrumbs that kind of make you want to believe the best in Bryn, and of course
and how she was supporting Georgie, and how she was like trying like launching the anti-bullying campaign, and like
that's what politicians do to hide their mistakes.
But yeah, and I mean, see, like we can look at it from two different perspectives, because like from one perspective it's like, oh, she's being nice to Georgie, like she's friends with Georgie, but from the other perspective it's like, yeah, you're friends with her now, but you ignored her for 6 years, and like you're only friends with her now because she doesn't really have anyone else, and neither do you at this point in time because you ruined everything over the summer.
Yeah.
So it was just a very interesting of kind of like wavering on like, is Bryn good or bad? Like, do we like her? Do we hate her? Kind of thing.
Yeah. So I remember there's like one specific thing that like Bryn said, or like about, or Georgie thought, because Bryn said something that like really brought back like memories of my high school experience about like rumors. She was like, Georgie was upset that people were talking about her, and Bryn was like, at least people are talking about you now. And like, I think Georgie had this thought like, yeah, at least people say, or like, they're noticing me, they're talking about me. And I just remember, I don't know if it was like freshman or sophomore year, but like I had this specific like thought that I was like, you know what? I'd rather never be talked about than be talked about in a bad way. Like I'd just rather be invisible. And I like made that conscious decision, like when I like to be more quiet than to ever speak. Like, do you guys ever remember thinking about that? Because you heard like terrible things about other people, and you're just like, I don't want to be the topic of anyone's conversation like that ever.
I mean, in general, I don't like being the topic of anyone's conversation, good or bad. I don't want people to perceive me like, do not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I kind of stopped making so many videos. Like I got tired of people saying things online. It's that kind of frustrating situation where it's like people have this image of you and this opinion of you that's wrong, and you can't do anything to change it. And it's just so frustrating, you feel so helpless. You're like, that's not, like, you have the wrong idea about me, but like it doesn't matter how much, like arguing about it is just gonna make you double down or like think even worse. And it's so frustrating, and you feel
in high school it's even worse though, because you haven't really come into your own and like reached that point where, I mean, most of us haven't really reached that point where you're like at full capacity confidence and like know yourself, and like so you're in this unsure time. What about you, Jesse?
I can't remember what I was like in high school, but I'm sure I didn't want to be talked about. Like, of course not. But
and also, Jesse, you went to a really small school.
Yeah, I did. But
well, I think there's a lot of rumors and stuff, right?
Yeah,
like,
at the same time, like that made it worse because like
everyone
spread really fast and everybody knew everything, and it was just like. But there were like a lot of things that were like lies and stuff. You know, it's like a lot of it wasn't true. A lot of it was baseless. So
was there any specific rumor in your high school that you remember like getting really out of control, that like everyone had an opinion on?
There was one I want to talk about.
Okay.
Just like a lot of like,
okay,
I went to like a private Christian school, and so like there were like a lot of rumors about like parties and drugs and things like that. So, but I don't at the same, like I don't know even now still if like a lot of that stuff was true. You know, I don't know if people were just like trying to like ruin other people's lives, because that was a big thing.
Yeah,
a lot of people were like that. Like a lot of people were mean back in high school, in that way, where like they were like trying to just bring other people down, even if like a lot of the things were lies. So
it's gossip as entertainment. Like it's not even caring like if it's true or not, or it's not even about like trying to like talk bad about someone or like knock someone down. Like sometimes it's just about like, we're bored, so like let's gossip and like things get out of control. One thing that I remember, and I don't remember the outcome of it, so this is not satisfying. But there was one teacher who was a man, and he was kind of younger, and so like somehow some rumors started spreading about like him and being like too close to female students. And I don't remember like any actual like evidence or like any specifics of like it was this student or whatever. I just remember that like these rumors were like an insidious kind of gossipy thing of like, oh yeah, he's flirting with students and stuff like that, and it was just like scandalous. And like later I look back at it, I'm like, this could have ruined his career. Like if he was being inappropriate with students, like that's a different thing. But what I felt like at the time was like there was no basis on it. Like there was no specific accusations. It was just like he's kind of a young, attractive teacher, and like some girls had crushes on him, and like we're probably kind of flirting with him.
Right.
And I just remember thinking, like, he had a wife and small kids, and it was just like,
yeah,
I felt bad for him in that situation.
Right.
There were like 2 big situations like that during my 4 years of high school. And like the first was my freshman year, and it was like the cool teacher that we all loved. She was the same situation. Like she was married, she had a young kid, and her, you know how like, I feel like it's called like study something, like, I don't know, you work study, where you like, no, like work study where like you can just work with a teacher for a period. And like he was a work study for a human work study student. So like it was just like he would work privately with her for a period. And this rumor started that like they were sleeping together. And like I was a freshman and he was a senior. So like everyone must have been talking about it.
Right.
But nothing ever really came of that I know of. But one of my cheerleading coaches, like our senior year, rumors started, and she was also like a cool teacher. Rumors started that she was sleeping with a student. She got fired, and everyone like kind of turned against her. And like I never believed any of these rumors, because I was like very like, these are just rumors. Like how could that ever happen?
Right.
But I know the parents got involved with the one, like my senior year, so like maybe there was some sort of proof, or like I feel like I remember hearing like about pictures exchanged over text. But like I remember feeling so bad for her, because she was like, we were so close to her because she was a coach. But yeah, I still don't know what happened, but now I'm looking at it completely differently as like an adult. I don't know. But yeah, it was bad. Like I don't, it's so funny because like these rumors that happen with the teachers are the ones that we remember, but I don't really remember anything about the student rumors.
Yeah, I don't remember anything specific. It was just stuff like, oh, so and so,
like, yeah, hooked up with this person. Yeah,
like, oh, they did this.
Yeah,
kind of thing. But
yeah, I don't have a deal, I guess.
But like when you're in it, when you're in high school, like it felt like the biggest thing in the world. Like you have like, oh my gosh, can you believe they did this? You know, and then it's like now you can't even recall those things that happened. It's like, wow.
I do recall the like gossip and rumors that like circulated in like my experience were more in my friend group than the school at large. It was like, so and so said this about you, and like all sorts of like petty inner drama within like the larger friend group, but not the school as a whole. I feel like my school, because it was on like the cusp of social media, and so like not everyone knew everyone, it was mostly like stuff happening between the groups, and like occasionally a rumor would spread of like, oh, that girl hooked up with so and so or whatever, but it was I don't remember anything that was like school wide to like nowhere near this degree.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like it's so much scarier now how fast that like anything fake can spread. Like people
don't know how I would handle high school now. Like we like when I was in high school, like we had MySpace, we had Zanga, we had like Facebook and stuff. Like, we had Twitter like towards the end. I think it was like junior, senior year we got Twitter.
Yeah, it was when I was like freshman in college.
Yeah, so like we definitely had social media, but I feel like it's just like everything's changed on social media now. You know, everybody's like so open about everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like we were open to like a degree back then, but like now it's just so different. Like nobody's afraid to like post, you know,
private information that used to be considered private.
Yeah. Or
yeah,
just,
we went from like our parents telling us like never tell anyone your real name, never tell anyone anything.
Right.
And now teenagers will put like their real name in their Twitter bio, and also like all sorts of information about themselves.
Like, I never used to put my birthday. It said I was 46 years old on most things because I would just like put a fake year.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone was discussing this on one of my podcasts, how like we went from like being like very private on the internet to like people really valuing like this genuine, you know, very honest, like I don't know, not facade, but like output on the internet. And now we're kind of switching back a little bit. Like the wave is turning again, and people are like not wanting Facebook anymore, and like after all, like the misinformation, I feel like during the elections and stuff, I feel like people don't want their data shared and like all that stuff. So it's really interesting how that goes, pendulum swings back and forth with the fads of like socials.
I think about too, like, this is kind of random, but like it was already hard for people when I was in high school to like fit a certain beauty standard.
Yes.
And like now that like photo and videos are like such a big thing, it's like it has to be even harder now to like maintain an image or like
not just
fit into a certain image, you know? It's like it's gotta be so hard and like pressuring. Like
it's not just that photos and videos are so readily available, but also filters. Everything is edited and filtered.
Yeah.
And I feel like it causes a bunch of people a sort of dysphoria because they see themselves like these polished, edited pictures, and they're like, I look great there. But then they look in the mirror and they're like, I'm ugly. And
right. Yeah.
Well, back then, like we used to look at magazines all the time. It was just a different medium.
That's true. Yeah.
We compare ourselves to like all the actresses and models, and
that was comparing to other people. This is like comparing against an edited version of yourself. And it's
it's a new, like more mortifying thing because now you're also like wanting people to like stuff. Like there was nothing like that where you're like waiting for people to react to your things. And as people on the internet, we know how like mentally taxing that can be, and experiencing that as like a 13, 14-year-old, it's gotta be
where you start attaching your value to that number. And if the number is going up, then like you feel good, you're confident, everything's great. But like when that number starts going down, it can really affect your self-esteem, and like we live in such a weird time.
And like we've all experienced that to an extreme degree because like it's become our job. But like experiencing that through puberty, like I can't imagine, because you already feel like that just from like I guess, and like when we were in high school, it's just like people talking to you or like looking at you in certain ways would be like your affirmation almost, you know, like liking your outfit or like and now it's like a physical proof that people like or dislike you based on how many people follow you and click the button. I feel I don't know. I've been messed up. I had an Instagram.
I remember like a big validating thing, like back. I hate saying like back in my day, back when I was in high school. It was like the MySpace top 8 thing.
Oh
like,
my god!
Wrenching thing. Like if you saw your friend's profile and you weren't on their top 8, like what does that mean? You know?
Yeah.
It was such a weird like social navigating
hierarchy.
Because like you're like, oh, this person is ranked 4th for me, so like I expect to be ranked 4th for them, kind of thing.
Right.
Oh, they lowered me down to 7. That means I can lower them down to like 7.
Yeah.
And like your best friend had to be number 1. And like if you had a close knit group of like several friends, it was like, how do you rank them?
Yeah. And I remember I didn't have enough people for a top 8. So I didn't have enough friends, and I felt like so self-conscious putting like some friends that like maybe I wasn't in their top 8. I was like taboo to put them in my top 8, but it's like, or else I won't have 8, and it's like you don't have any friends.
Oh my gosh, I remember because obviously I went to like a Christian private school, so like there was like a profile for like God or Jesus or something, so a lot of people would have Jesus as their what.
Oh my
god! Just like thinking back on that, like wow.
Jesus is my space.
Wow.
That's really funny. Yeah, and I remember you could do like a top 4 or something, but like a lot of times you have like a little under 8, and so you couldn't do 4, else you're like excluding somebody that has you on their thing. I was so glad when Olivia made one because I was like, oh, thank God, I put my sister on here.
You have some cushion there. Oh man.
Yeah, that was a nice thing when Facebook came about. There was no top, so it was like the stress of that is gone.
Yes.
Remember, on MySpace you could also like, never mind, this is irrelevant, but like there weren't as many pictures, so you had to like put in embed like slideshows if you wanted.
Yeah, I remember that.
Anyway, yeah. MySpace. So
Um,
weird that it's so old
I
now.
know. Yeah, it's wild to think about.
Okay, so back to the rumor game and rumors and your high school experience. Was there anything else in here that kind of triggered a different memory of your high school experience and like was really upsetting? I feel like that kept happening to
I feel like honestly, like I couldn't really relate, but like it made me think a lot about like this was Georgie's journey with like fat phobia and like diet culture and like all of that. Like that was such a big, it still is a big thing, but like I remember like, my mom and my sister were like constantly on diets. Like I was surrounded by that. So like
me.
in some ways like that bled into like my thoughts on food and like what I was eating and stuff and like made me think a lot about it like growing up and like made me like really aware of like what I was eating and stuff and like um I don't know, it just like made
That
me
was
think about
huge in
the
the
pressure
90s.
that so many people go through and like their mindsets and like just how much they think about it. It's like it's got to be so stressful and like hard and I don't know. It just like made me
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like through the 90s and like 2000s, there were so many diets that I the same thing. Like my mom, I feel like was constantly like feeling pressured to like try all these new diets, and I like the same thing. I feel like it also leaked into like how I thought about things.
Right.
And
It
every,
was, it was a big cultural thing. Like the body positivity movement is
yeah,
more recent, like
Yeah.
post our high school experiences. So it was not just coming from like parents and like friends and like peers and stuff. It was society as a whole. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
it was every magazine cover. Like the models used to be like super super skinny, like
Yeah.
very skinny. And it was a whole thing.
yeah.
And
Right.
I'm glad that we've stepped away from that sort of
Thank
toxicity.
you.
Like,
Yeah,
obviously, it still persists to some
Yeah.
degree, but people now are more accepting of like body positivity, and you don't have to be like super skinny to have value as a human.
Right. Right.
it was terrible. And I remember, just like diet words like fattening and this is this and this and this, like those words were so harmful and now when I hear them I get like cringy and
Yeah.
it's like a lot of other people like of the other generation will bring it up and I will be like, oh no, like we don't
Yeah,
don't think about it like that. It's
Right.
unhealthy, like please don't use that word because
it's the mentality of like guilty foods,
yeah,
Mm.
or, like, safe and clean foods. Like,
Right. Right.
that's puts you in such a weird headspace where you start feeling guilty over like eating something because it has like fat or oil in it, and it's like
Right.
fat and oil to live.
I honestly feel like it's like a very outdated mindset now. And when I hear him, like, could you please get with the times?
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's very unhealthy for you. Not just for you, though, but for everyone around you who's hearing you talk that way.
Right. And I even remember like I think it was Georgie was on a date with is his name Riley? Is that his
Yeah.
name? Okay, she was like I think he brought her food or something and she was like counting the calories in her head. She's like, okay, this is this and this and this, so I can have this much later. And it's just like that is so messed up to like have to think that way. And like it's just unfortunate that like she was going through that throughout the story. But
Yeah. I mean, and I'm really glad she was seeing a therapist.
yeah.
Like, that was nice to have included because, like,
Right.
her mom was really messing
Yeah.
her head.
I feel like she had a lot of pressure from her mom.
Yeah.
Like maintain her weight and stuff.
Yeah. I know so many people go through that. Like, again, I feel like I remember like just so many moms in the like 90s like saying things like that.
Yeah.
And I hope that like that's still, I mean, sure, I'm sure it does still happen now.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully less often.
Yeah.
The thing that's like so frustrating and like sucks is that when she lost the weight is when she started getting popular and getting attention, which just kind of like reinforces all those ideas of like she didn't have value before, like she didn't matter before. And
I love that friend of hers that's like,
Monica,
like you just have to stop being afraid, and it's all about the way you like, give off, present yourself. And when you give off this vibe that you should be like quiet and stuff because you feel like you're not pretty, it makes people think that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's of course because of like what she's been told by her.
Yeah, it's like hard to get your mind out of like,
Yeah.
like associating like your personality with like the way you look, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, we all go through that in high school because, like, it's such an insecure, awkward time for most people. Some people in high school are like, the popular people are the people who are like so confident in themselves,
right?
And, are done like going through their awkward phase. Yeah, because I guess like you start to finish your awkward phase once you start to be confident in yourself.
Yeah,
it's hard,
but that like comes at different times for everybody, so it's so hard. Like,
yeah, I know, especially for teenage girls. Like one scene that stood out to me in this book is the one where Jace is like forcing Georgie into the photo booth, and he's like, and she's like trying to say no, but she's also trying to like be polite because like teenage girls are like socialized to like cater to the male ego and like not only to like as just a social thing of like you like yield to them kind of thing, but also as a self-preservation thing because like you reject someone and they turn violent against you kind of situation.
Right. Even like putting them first is kind of socialized into us. Like it's the 50s or something. Like
your job as a girl is to support your man.
Yes, and like don't upset them and like make them happy. And I remember like when I realized that I was like subconsciously thinking that, and I got so mad. It was like when I was 15 or something, and I like completely changed around like how I reacted to everything. But it pissed me off so much. And it's hard. Like you still feel that instinct sometimes. I feel like to not say something when you're like uncomfortable because you feel like it's rude.
Right.
No,
or to not to like ask for what you want or like what you deserve. Like when I was in high school, I was like kind of dating this guy, and I say kind of dating because I wanted to date him, but he wanted to date other people too. So I was in a position where I was just like, well, as long as he hangs out with me sometimes, and like I'll take what I can get, kind of thing. Which nowadays I'm like, no, like what were you like that? You deserve more than that kind of thing. But like when it's your first time like getting attention from someone you're interested in, and like again, especially teenage girls are kind of socialized to like cater to the guy, and so it's just I could like it was frustrating to see Georgie in that position because I wanted to be like push him away, like tell him no, like get away from him, but it was also so understandable and relatable and like real of how she was kind of like doing the thing where you like laugh because you're uncomfortable, not because it's actually funny.
I feel like even if she would have told him no, he would have just been like, well, whatever, like because that just
she was telling him no, and he was just like, overpowering,
pushing it off.
I feel like even so, I've like re-entered the dating world in this last like 10 months, and like I went out with some guy that was like I like classically like in high school felt like the jock type, and I just felt all those like high school feelings like of being like why would he date me sort of thing, because I'm this loser girl in high school came back, and it was just so frustrating because they were like overpowering. I was like, oh my god, I'm so like, this is so cool that he like likes me, and he was like, ew, no, like I'm cool.
You're a catch.
So I hate it, and it's because it's like high school is such a big like that mindset like can come back so quickly because it is such a big like I feel like traumatizing time for me.
Literally.
Like, it's so ridiculous, and and like working that out in your head is hard. Like get the fuck away, high school Christine. This you deserve like you deserve love just as much. It's just so ridiculous. But and I feel like in high school though we are programmed to think like that, like you should be grateful for like being interested in you, like
it's so upsetting.
But yeah, I feel like Georgie is, when she looks back on, like, this is obviously going to change her life so much, but hopefully like she comes out of it like much stronger and believing in everything that she deserves.
I feel like she was the character that just like went through the ringer in this book. Like I mean, I know that they all were like going through things, but it's just like hers was constant, and like the ending was just so upsetting, like what she went through. It's like hard to want to talk about. It's like hard to want to talk about like what she went through because it is like such a hard hitting thing, but it is a thing that happens to people, and it's just
that was one thing that frustrated me about the end, because like I wanted more justice for Georgie, and
it was like a real life ending.
it was a very grounded and realistic ending, but that made it like so frustrating.
Yeah, it made it that much more frustrating.
Like, yeah, Jace is gonna be tried as an adult, and like if he's found guilty, he's gonna get like at minimum a couple months in jail, but like they're trying to work out a plea deal, so like he's gonna get away with it all. And even Bryn, like I feel like Bryn's accident that happened over the summer is more damaging to her reputation long term than like her being outed for starting the rumors, because like that's just the court of public opinion, like, oh, she started the rumors, everyone at the school knows, and like turns against her again, and she goes to a different school, but like does she suffer like the consequences to the degree that like even Cora and especially Georgie had to go through? Like it wasn't fair.
It's never fair.
Never.
Like that article was like, he had such a promising future, and it's just like, I hate it so much. It happens so much with like white boys.
Yeah. I mean, there's still the biggest one from the last couple of years is Brock Turner.
Yeah, that's the one that came to mind when I was thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's like literally what happened. Like,
yeah, except Brock Turner was like caught in the act by people, and he's still like getting away with it.
It's just, it happens so often, and I've read so many books where it happens, and like seen so many shows that like, it's just when I start to read about it again, I'm like, stop.
Yeah, but it's like the frustrating part too is like, when is it going to change? Because this just continues to happen. And it's like,
I think because we're seeing it so much more often, hopefully, like it's gonna start to slowly fucking change.
Yeah.
Because like that's why we're seeing it in books and stuff, to bring it to more people's attention, to or like in the news, or in a place where it like actually affects them. You have to see it from the other person's point of view. But that's back to like us thinking like that. We always give like white men the benefit of the doubt. Like it's so frustrating, but like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I think that is a good thing about books like this, though, is because teenagers who read this, and they can see from like the outsider perspective of like how wrong and how messed up it all is, and to the point where like if they do find themselves in a similar situation, they kind of have like the framework for like what they can do. They're a little bit more knowledgeable of like how to handle the situation. Even though, like, again, it was so frustrating because like there weren't enough consequences. Like, yeah, Jace is in trouble and like going to trial and stuff, and will hopefully get punished. But again, like Bryn, who started all of this, and like also everyone else who fed into the rumors, like even Chance, who was like feeding into it, like Chance and Bryn kind of got like publicly shamed.
Yeah.
But they didn't get more publicly shamed than like what Georgie and Cora and Baze went through. Like,
exactly.
So frustrating.
I know. It's so hard to see like the justice match what actually went down, because it's so it's like the shame levels that Georgie went through. Like, there's no meeting that.
Yeah, it's gonna follow her life forever.
Yeah.
It's so heavy.
I know.
It's so sad. Okay. Does anyone in the chat have any questions or any topics, like anything that you'd like us to hit on before we wrap up our live show today about the rumor game. I think we're all like, it really does spark so many important conversations, which is why like we need books like this, and so many important like thought processes that you have to go through to like grow and realize these things and how to change your reaction in real life so that things don't get to this point. Was there ever, maybe we don't want to talk about that. I was gonna say, like, is there ever a rumor about you that was like really upsetting? But like talking about rumors about yourself just perpetuates the rumor. The lesson is to let it go. Let it go. That's the really hard thing about anything on social media. Like when you see something untrue about yourself, your gut reaction is to go on and
be defensive and
go on the defensive and like write something out like defending yourself and trying to prove that that's wrong. But what happens is that just draws more people to what they said about you, and then they take what you said and use it to prove the point that the rumor is true. No matter what you do. And it's so hard, but you just have to not touch it.
It's hard though sometimes.
It's hard. And I feel like we've had practice with it living on the internet for so long. It's stupid hard though. You have to like get off if you see something like that. To prevent yourself from trying to say something. Okay. Well, I think we should remind you that next month we're reading The Atlas 6.
The Atlas 6. Oh yeah, dark academia with some magic elements.
I am pumped.
Ooh, it's pretty.
I like that art on the inside.
The way that the arc of this book, or not the arc of this book, but the original of this book is now selling for like thousands of dollars.
It is.
Like the self-published version, people are like selling it for crazy amounts.
Somebody commented on my Throne of Glass thing saying that Christine is the original cover that's worth so much money. And I was like, what? And my original cover is written on all over.
I was going to say, didn't she write all of it?
But it is Sarah who wrote all over it.
Even like the original ACOTAR covers are now going for crazy amounts because they don't sell the original covers anymore. They just sell the new ones. So
insane. Yeah. Everyone who sees my Throne of Glass is like, what did you do to that? And I'm like, no, Sarah did it. I asked her to, but she did it.
It's a prized possession.
Yeah, it is. I have to make a video about all my prized possession books so I can explain that, because I get like so many people getting mad about it all the time. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here.
Joining us this month. Thank you to Disney Books for sponsoring.
Yeah, thank you to Disney Books, and we will see you next time. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Booksplosion to get the date as soon as we announce it, and to keep up to date on what our books of the month are, because we have beautiful pictures on our Instagram. Our social media manager, Jordan, is a photographer, and she has made our aesthetic so nice.
We could never.
We could never make it that beautiful.
We tried.
I'm Christine.
I'm Kat.
I'm Jesse. We're Booksplosion.
Bye.